Welcome to another YouTube video, guys. It's a pleasure to have you here. And today I'm going to be talking about the idea and the topic of discipline. Now, a lot of people in this day and age lack discipline. And the reason they lack discipline is a multitude of reasons, but primarily because they are fearful of judgment. They're fearful of failing. They're fearful of every negative thing that could ultimately happen from them doing disciplined acts on a day in and day out basis. And the reality is that a lot of people look at discipline almost as like a general sergeant, someone that is telling them, oh, you gotta do this and you gotta do that. And it's something negative, and ultimately it's a word that, pops up in people's head as something that is going to be, exhausting and it's going to cause a lot of effort, and people would rather just lay down and sit on a couch and not do anything about their goals or not even want to achieve them in the first place, even though they know deep down inside them they have a burning desire to achieve the goals that they have in their mind, right? Discipline is a bridge between accomplishment and thought, right? It is ultimately the glue, how I like to look at it. It's the glue that holds and binds your accomplishments together, right? Discipline is the thing that ultimately takes a thought and creates it into reality, right? Discipline is something that allows you to take that thought and create an accomplishment out of it, right? Whatever goal you have in your mind, whatever aspirations that you have within you, you can ultimately take that, cultivate it as a thought, and then put it into reality, right? By discipline, right? By ultimately following through on what tasks you need to do in order to achieve the goals that you want for yourself. And I want you to understand that all good things out of life come from those that are willing to swim upstream. All good things in life come from those that are willing to go against the grain and to have discipline towards the goals that they want for themselves, right? There's no successful person that you or I know that have not achieved anything through discipline, right? They have achieved it thoroughly through discipline. They have achieved it through going against the grain, going against the herd mentality, going against what other people say is normal, right? And that takes discipline. That takes someone that has grit. That takes someone that has the resiliency to follow through on that discipline and to create multiple disciplines throughout their life to get them where they want to be in life. And so I want to talk about this idea of failure because I had talked about it earlier, and I want to talk about it because a lot of people have this misconception about what failure really is, right? People have this preconceived notion that failure comes from one big catastrophic event. One failure comes from, one event that occurred, in a lifetime, whether it be a business going bankrupt or you losing all your money or whatever it may be. When in reality, that's just not the case, right? Failure doesn't very often happen in one big circumstance. It very rarely does, actually. Failure ultimately happens from lack of discipline. And what I mean by that is as time compounds, right, that discipline, right, can play in your favor, or that lack of discipline can not play in your favor. And what I mean by that is failure ultimately comes from day in and day out, compounding that throughout a period of life, right, and allowing yourself to not be disciplined in the areas that you need to be in, right? So it doesn't happen from one specific event, and that's one thing that a lot of people have a notion on. That's what people think failure really is, when in reality failure is just putting things off and not doing them, right? Failure comes from that compounded putting things off and not pursuing your goals, not pursuing your dreams, right? Failure comes from not eating healthy day in and day out every single day. It's not like if you don't eat the apple today you're going to be sick tomorrow, but it ultimately means if you compound that over a lifetime, there's a potentiality of failure occurring. And so what I mean by that is that it works out of your favor if you're not doing the small disciplines that need to be done. What I mean by that is if you're not working out, once again, you're not getting healthier, right? The years that you're not working out when you're young, that's fine, right? That's completely fine. But continue that over a lifetime, that's when failure occurs. Because we all know those individuals that didn't work out, that didn't take care of themselves, and thought in that moment that it wouldn't matter, and thought, oh, I'm not failing in this moment, right? It doesn't feel like that, right? I'm made out of rubber and magic. I'm good. I'm young. When in reality, time will only tell that as they continue growing and as they continue getting older and aging, that failure starts to occur because they compounded that as time went on. So reshift that mindset of failure, because failure does not happen in one circumstance. It happens over a compounded interest type model, if you will. So I want you to view it as like a consequence, right? A consequence of you not putting in the work is ultimately failure that comes. A consequence of you not day in and day out pursuing the things that you need to be pursuing, whether it be good health, happiness, good relationships, so on and so forth, doesn't affect you in that moment, but as a consequence of you not doing it now, it's going to hurt you later. And so the danger comes when we've squandered a day, right? Or we've, completely ridded a day and not done anything and not been disciplined, and look at it as, oh, it's just one day, right? It doesn't matter. Well, compound that over time, it's going to matter, right? Compound that over years, and soon a day turns into a lifetime, right? And that one time or that one moment that you quote unquote said it doesn't matter, right? You continued that throughout your life, and as a result, a failure came out of that, which was catastrophic, right? It becomes part of you to put things off. It becomes part of you to fail in that sense. You're not failing in that moment necessarily, but as time goes on, you will fail. You will ultimately have a demise because you're not putting in the work. You're not doing the things that will ultimately set you up for success later on in the future. So that being said, I want to switch this on its head here because I want to shift the tone of the message. I want to shift the tone of this video to the idea that although failure comes from these compounded acts day in and day out, not from one particular circumstance, success is exactly the same thing, right? So if we view it in that way and we ultimately just shift that particular model onto the idea of success, we quickly realize that success is exactly the same. And what I mean by that is the days that you're actually putting in the work and you're compounding that over time is when success comes, right? When you create those disciplines in your life and you're actually day in and day out working towards a particular goal is when you ultimately are able to cultivate the goals and be able to create the goals that you want for yourself. You're able to create the life that you want for yourself as a result of putting the work in day in and day out. So just as the guy that's not doing the disciplines day in and day out and ultimately fails later on in life and looks at that day as, oh, it's not that big of a deal now, but 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, he realizes that it was a big mistake of not doing those disciplines. Success is the same thing. The individual that has the mindset of, I understand this isn't going to pay off right in this moment, but with the disciplines compounded over time, they will. He is the one who succeeds. He is the one that brings his goals into fruition, and he is the one that ultimately we look at as successful. So for example, if your goal is to make 5 sales calls in a day and you make 20, you have compounded that. You have gone above what you were supposed to do today. And if you do that the next day and you do that the next day and you compound it over time, you start to realize very quickly you hit your goals a lot faster. You start to actually achieve things in this life because you're disciplined, because you have now shifted your paradigm. And as opposed to putting things off and saying, oh, it doesn't matter today, but later on it will, you are now realizing that although it doesn't matter today, it will later on if I continue to compound these acts of success and compound these acts of discipline in my life, right? What does it take to ultimately be able to cultivate discipline? So it really starts by asking yourself, what is it that I want to achieve in this world? What are the things that I want to actually get towards, right? What are the goals that I want for myself? And secondly, after you have established what it is that is important to you, right? You need to ask yourself, am I willing to do what it takes? Am I willing to put in the disciplines day in and day out to achieve the goals that I want for myself? I'm creating this YouTube channel because I know I can cultivate a message to people. I know that although I only have 2 subscribers, which I am undeniably thankful and grateful for, over time, more people will cultivate this message that I am feeling, right? More people will be able to spread this message just the same because more people will begin to follow. More people will begin to subscribe with a day in and day out compound of me putting up videos and spreading a message to all of you. I am willing to do what it takes because I've sat with myself. I've established what it is that I want. And I've also told myself that I know I will do what it takes to achieve that goal, to achieve that end result. And no matter what it is, I'm willing to do what it takes, right? Number 3 is ultimately asking yourself, right? Are you going to be willing to continue on when things come arise? When you realize that you're a year in and you only have 50 subscribers, when you realize that you're 2 years in, you only have 100 subscribers, are you willing to continue on, right? We all, have particular circumstances where things don't go right? But are you willing to continue on regardless? Are you willing to be resilient and have sheer willpower to see it through? And once you've actually sat with yourself and asked yourself those 3 particular things, I want you to understand that it's not even the discipline itself, right? It's not even the accomplishment itself that will ultimately give you the most joy, right? It may, by all means, give you joy of achieving a goal, which we all know we've achieved a goal before and been happy. But the idea of discipline in itself and applying that on a daily basis will make you potentially even happier than the achievement of the success, or of the goal in itself. And what I mean by that is the disciplines are ultimately something that can cultivate happiness. The disciplines are something that will make you happier because you're doing better for yourself. You're improving. You're becoming something of substance in this world. You're actually moving towards your goals. And as a result, even just creating the disciplines will make you happier. As a result, just creating the structured diagram of what you follow day in and day out to achieve your goals will make you sometimes even happier than the achievement itself. Cultivate that happiness. If you want to feel happy, make yourself busy. Do things that make you happy and do things that are going to achieve your goals. Do things that you want to be proud of when you achieve them, right? Do things that make you feel like you're worth living on this planet, right? Sometimes we feel purposeless. Sometimes we feel like we don't have a sense of direction. But I promise you, by just applying discipline in your life and applying discipline in all areas of life, you'll quickly realize that you actually have purpose. You wake up every day with fulfillment and you wake up with something greater than yourself that you can achieve every single day. So I want to give you this analogy, right? And I want you guys to think of a tree, right? How tall will a tree grow, right? How tall will a tree grow, right? Well, a tree will grow as high as it can. A tree will grow as much as it possibly can. It'll fight against gravity. It'll fight against the external environment that it's in, because that is what it's destined to do. A tree will grow to the potential that it knows it can grow to, right? It doesn't have a conscious being per se, right? Maybe it does. Maybe you believe that. I don't know. But my point is that us human beings have the wherewithal and the willpower and the I guess you could say free will to do and cultivate an idea of, striving to our biggest potentiality, right? And so what I mean by that is that a tree will grow as high as it can. So why can't you? You have that resiliency. You have that gift. You've been given the gift of free will to be able to grow to however high you want to grow to. You've been given that consciousness to be able to achieve great things and to improve every single day. And so if a tree is going to grow as high as it wants to grow, right, and it's a tree, you by all and any means can do just the same thing, guys. And I promise you, if you understand that analogy and you really understand what I'm trying to say here, is that you can achieve anything that you want. You just have to put your mind to it. You have to know that these small disciplines will pay off, right? Just like not doing the thing will have a horrible outcome, disastrous. The opposite is true for actually doing things that are good for yourself. It will ultimately benefit you in ways you can't imagine. And guys, discipline attracts so much opportunity. Discipline attracts so much into your life. Discipline attracts so many things that you can grab onto, right? The successful person is one that disciplines himself every single day, and when an opportunity presents himself as a result of doing that discipline, he grabs onto it and he takes advantage of it, and as a result he achieves his goal quicker. He achieves his goal to its fullest potential, or even more so than what he may have ultimately assumed. Discipline gives you opportunity in this life. Discipline gives you the ability to create and to imagine and to grab onto opportunities that present themselves to you. And so the amount of fruit that you can reap from harvesting, from your harvest by just doing these disciplines is unbelievable, guys. So guys, just start this process small. That's the best advice I can give you right now, is start the process small. Start these disciplines in a slow manner, because you don't want to give yourself too much. You guys don't want to, overwhelm yourself. This is a game, right? It's a long-term game too. It's not short-term. It's not how quick can we get rich, how financially independent can we become. No, in this time frame, it's a long-term game, guys. Chill out. Know that you will achieve your goals if you're just disciplined and that you're moving in the right direction. If this message was of some substance to you, I pray that you actually use it. I pray that this idea of discipline really ingrains in your brain and that you start taking the right steps, because I promise you, discipline in my life has been the biggest thing that has gotten me to where I'm at right now, right? I'm 23. I'm able to financially provide for myself, and that's only through discipline. That's only through the day in and day out constant knowing this, that if I put in the work now, I'll be able to reap the fruits later. So guys, just keep that in mind. Grow to your fullest potential. Discipline yourself. Know that it's a beautiful thing, and know that failure doesn't come from one circumstance, but it comes from multiple compounded acts day in and day out of not doing what you should be doing. But the same is for success. And so if you do those things day in and day out and you compound that success over time, little wins day in and day out, that turns into a huge win. So God bless all of you. Take this message for a grain of salt, apply it, see what it works, if it does even work, and see your life change. So God bless you. Take care.